Good morning. Today is our son's first day of the Crucible at Marine Corps boot camp, and we got up today at 5 a.m., which is the same time he got up in California, which was 2 a.m. And so for the next couple of days, we're going to be burning our candle, this candle. And in the meantime, while he's doing that, I am building us a couple of miniature temporary porches. Well, next summer, we will be building a nice big porch here, but until then, we need something to walk on and clean our feet on. So basically what I'm doing is using some cinder blocks, a pallet, and then some 3/4 inch plywood on top of that. We're going to put a little bit of the false grass on there, astroturf-ish stuff, and then call it a day on this one. We're going to do the similar thing on the other side, but let's go ahead and finish this one up first. So here it is finished. Again, just some cinder blocks, a pallet, some plywood, and some of that green fake grass stuff. I put those 2 flat rocks there just so we have something to put our shoes on. Obviously, this is just a temporary setup until I can build a deck next summer. I would like to think that I could build a deck before winter, but that's just not possible. There's other projects that are much more important right now. So we're moving on to the second deck. So we're going to do things a little bit differently on this one, I think, simply because I don't have any more plywood that I can use. So I'm using these 2x6s, scrap wood, and I've got some scrap 2x4s. So I think all I'm going to do here is just lay them out on cinder blocks and then attach these 2x4s to kind of hold these together, and then do 2 scrap 2x4s up there as well, and we'll see how it looks. Again, this is nothing fancy, just something to get us up off the gravel here. It's also obviously not level. You can see it bouncing around, but it should work to get us through. So I got these all together, but I'm noticing that without these being connected, these things just tend to move around a lot. So what I'm going to do is, again, just some scrap 2x4 here. Just going to kind of attach this here, again, just to help with some stability. All right, so we are done, and I like it. I mean, it'll work. Again, some cinder blocks, some 2x6s, and just some scrap 2x4s. And remember, you know, as I've said a few times in this video already, this is just temporary until we build our decks. I'm gonna have a small deck out here in the back area, and then the bigger deck up front. All right, so let's move on to the next project for today. All right, so we just finished our next chore of the day, and that was to change the battery in this guy and then give it an oil change. Now, actually, this is the first time I've done the oil change on this truck, believe it or not. Usually I just took it in, but now that we're out here, there's no sense in taking it to somebody when I can do the oil change myself. So as far as the old oil is concerned, I just put it back in the old or in the new container. Now the one thing I have to make sure I do is write used on there, because I would hate to have to use that instead of new oil, because that would really suck, especially if I was changing the oil on this thing again. There's tons of uses of old oil on the Homestead, so it's nice to have, you know, a nice little stockpile of it. All right, now we're gonna go change the oil on the mower. So one more thing before we leave the truck here, we did replace the battery, and we're gonna end up actually keeping this battery and using this for some DC power somewhere on the Homestead. We have lots of little buildings. We're going to have more buildings, and if we want to have lights and things like that, we'll just add a couple of solar panels, some wires, a little charge controller, and we'll have power. No sense in giving this $25 core charge back when, you know, I've got a battery that should last quite a while, at least running DC power. So after realizing I did not have the right oil for my mower, decided to postpone the oil change on the mower and put up some lights. But when I started to work on that, I realized that the house needed to be jacked up. If you guys have ever had floating cabins, they have to be jacked up every once in a while just to make sure that they stay level for the first few years. And you know, our cabins were delivered on not the most ideal gravel pad, and so our doors are sticking, and which is the first indicator that, you know, they're starting to sink a little bit. So you know, you jack them up a little bit, throw some cedar shims in there, and you're good to go. Well, when I went to jack the cabin, apparently we lost the pin on the jack. So now I gotta go find a pin. Well, we found a piece that will work. It certainly is not the right piece by any stretch of the imagination, but it works. We got the south side of the building, and now we're going to do the north side of the building. But I'm going to show you how we know that we need to do this. So let's do that first. So here's my door, and what you'll first start to notice in these buildings is that when you go to open the doors, the bottoms get stuck. Not stuck, but just harder to open and close. You can kind of see that, I don't know if you can see it or not, but that rubber piece is kind of going back and forth, okay? So when that starts happening, that's kind of my first indicator that I need to lift up the building. And what we're going to do is add shims underneath it. Now, if you look at all of my piers, there's cedar shims and 2x6s and 1-inch cement boards or 1-inch cement blocks, and this goes on all. This is on all of the piers that we have. So now we know that we've got to shim this. What is going to happen is when I lift this up, this side here will probably lift as well, and what we'll do is we'll just throw a shim in there as well, just to kind of make sure it stays level. So let's get to it. You might be asking yourself, how do I know that I need to shim this side? Well, there's a real easy way to tell, and I think this is for every building. If the bottom gets stuck, you want to shim on the hinged side. If the top of your door gets stuck, you want to shim on the opposite side of your hinges. So in this case, the bottom here is getting stuck, or it's getting tight, and so we're going to jack up on the hinge side. And what you'll see is once I get it up in the air, that door opens and closes freely, just the way it was supposed to. Okay, so we've got it lifted. If I come down here, I can pull my shims out freely, which tells me it's up in the air and the jack now has the weight of the cabin, at least in this area. So now what I need to do is determine whether or not I've lifted it up enough. So the way you do that is you just open your door. So before, when I was opening, you could see that the rubber was sticking, and now no stick. Okay, so now that this is up, we're going to get back in there and we're going to try and add a couple of more shims here.
What you doing?
I am fixing our door. I got to shim us up and add a few more shims here. So these are the shims. They're just basically cedar shims. And so what we're going to do, kind of reposition these. Okay, now, before you guys jump on me, obviously these are Widowmakers. As long as you don't touch it and it's in locked position, nothing's going to happen. This building is too heavy for me to jack up by myself. And I assure you that hammering a piece of cedar in there is not going to move the building at all either. So with it in the locked position, I'm not too worried about being underneath it. That said, I think we're done. Check the door. Door opens and closes beautifully. Now we're going to bring the building down, set it back down, and hopefully we've got the right shingles in there, the right set of shingles, and be level for a while. All right, moment of truth. Nope. We got to do it again.
Still dragging a little?
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is kind of the reality. I mean, you know, you just got to keep doing it until you get the right shims under there and in the right place. Okay. Got it up a little higher. I can take another couple of little shims. Check our door. Door's a little high.
So once you drop it, it's probably...
Once we drop it, hopefully. Moment of truth. Beautiful. And there you have it. Now, like I said, we're going to be having to do this every few months. And not just here in the centers. Periodically, I need to go around with the level on the skids and make sure that we're still level. There are going to be times when I'm going to have to jack up the corners as well and shim them. Even though it looks like we have a lot of piers under here, the reality is there's only 2, 4, 6, 8 of them that are bearing weight. It's the, well, let me rephrase that. 8 lines of them that are bearing weight. It's the row at the end, the row in the front, and then these 2 rows in the middle. I'm sorry, so 4 rows. The rest of these piers are simply there to hold the weight and just give it some support. Same thing with the back cabin. We haven't had to make any adjustments to the width of the cabin yet, simply to the length, predominantly near these doors. So there you have it. If you need to jack up your Amish built cabin, that's how you do it. All right, so next on our to-do list was putting up some lights, and we have one light, and we're gonna get a couple more lights up strategically on the cabin here. So that's what we're doing. So we have water. We don't have running water. And so we are still doing our dishes the old-fashioned way, with a jug of water.